Yeah, again.
Oh, this time she's exhausted.
Yeah.
Okay. I call to order the meeting of August 20th, 2019. Can I have a moment of silence for all those serving inside and outside our borders, please? All right. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Can I have roll call, please?
Mayor Adrian Sandoval,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Larry Clark,
Here.
Harold Leggett,
Here.
Nick Ralston,
Here.
Spencer Bradnan,
Here.
Troy Blum,
Here.
Hope Morris.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on. We have audience participation. Did any of you want to stand up and say anything before the board? All right, welcome to our meeting. Thanks for coming. All right, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of August 6th regular meeting minutes of the Board of Trustees, the August financials, and the August paid bills, please?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Moving on to action items. We have ordinance 783, an ordinance of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Platteville, amending section 10.7.10 of the Platteville Municipal Code regarding public consumption of marijuana. Mr. Rankin.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. The town attorney was running a little late tonight, but she did, as I think you might report, submit several memos to the board. This is the first one. Her legislation will speak the devil, she's one. Sorry, kid.
Sorry.
We're talking about the first action item, which is the memo on the definition of marijuana for the consumption. And primarily the legislature, through Senate Bill 19224, basically amended or changed the definition of open or publicly means, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but as you can see in the resolution, what was crossed out and the language that was added, I really don't see any change for us.
There's really no substantive change. It's just making our language match the state as we have to.
So it's not something that we can impact. We're just following state statute, and for the police department to enforce as need be. That's all I have.
Questions, comments, concerns? I'd entertain a motion, please.
I move to approve ordinance 783, an ordinance of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Platteville, amending section 10-7-10 of the Platteville Municipal Code regarding public consumption of marijuana as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on, resolution 2019-29, a resolution of the Town of Platteville Board of Trustees granting a charitable donation to the Platteville Elementary School Parent-Teacher Organization's Fall Carnival. Mr. Rankin.
Thank you. As you may recall, each year the PTO asks the board and obviously other businesses, organizations to provide donations for the fall carnival as a fundraiser for both the elementary and the middle schools. The town has traditionally supported this with a donation. Each year during budget, the board establishes a fund for such donations. And in my report, I foresee one or two more coming in this fall for after prom. We typically, no?
Proms in the spring.
Proms in the spring. What? Homecoming, sorry. Homecoming, I got it mixed up. And then they used to do one at the elementary school, home running against drugs. I'm not sure if they still do that program anymore or not, but there are funds available if the board so desires. So.
When we did budget, did we double that amount?
We increased it, but yeah.
I thought so.
We usually give 150 per request only.
But I thought we doubled it or increased it at least.
We doubled our total amount, right? So we had 1,000, we went to 2,000, I believe, that's what we did.
Not quite 2,000, but there's around $450 to $600 left.
Is that it? Cause that's what I was thinking, if we doubled it, I don't think we've used that much. We
It
didn't
used to
pay
be
for the
about,
park.
it used to be about 600, now it's around 1,100, 1,200.
Okay, was it 1,200? So we're still at half. I was good with whatever. Did they request an amount?
No.
No.
They're happy with whatever they get, I'm sure.
You wanna go with 150 like we normally do?
If we upped it, we could go to 200.
That's what we did before. The budget, we got through December to go with $400, right? You said we're 400
I
left.
think if I remember right, about $450 left in the budget.
Into December. Keep everybody.
True.
Okay, I entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2019-29, a resolution of the Town of Platteville Board of Trustees granting a charitable donation to the Platteville Elementary School Parent Teacher Organization Fall Carnival. Did we ask for the amount? Okay, not to exceed more than $150.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Mary.
Harold Leggett,
Aye.
Nick Ralston,
Aye.
Spencer Bradnan,
Aye.
Troy Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Hope Morris.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. Thank you, guys. Sure they will be excited. C, agreement for services, economic development. Mr. Rankin.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. As you may recall, we discussed pursuing an economic development strategic plan, going into this year. One of our goals, we were fortunate several months ago, we applied for some DOLA funding assistance. We did receive that through administrative grant. This past month, I advertised for proposals. Had a number of inquiries, but one proposal came through that was very impressive, and Adrian and I met with Cheryl Trent, who is here tonight, and we'd like to make, I would like to make a recommendation to the board to pursue the plan with Ms. Trent's guidance as our consultant. But at this time, before we do anything else, I'd like to introduce Cheryl and have her come to the podium and say a few words, if you wouldn't mind.
Of course.
Put you on the spot.
Not a problem. Mayor, trustees, Cheryl Trent. I have lived and worked in this area for about the last 18 years. So most recently, about 8 years ago, I was employed with the Town of Evans. So I'm very familiar with your area. I'm very familiar with some of the opportunities you have, as well as some of the challenges you might face. And I have been doing strategic planning and facilitation of strategic planning in my own business for about 11 years now. So I'm very thankful that you're considering working with me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have or add any additional explanation or information that you might need tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
In the back, you also have her proposal and her timeline and her proposed outcomes. I think they're very reasonable. Dates do fluctuate depending on the board schedule and other things in the community, because we want this to be community involved activity. But as of right now, speaking with the mayor and Cheryl, our next regular meeting is September 3rd. We don't have anything too pressing. My recommendation is to cancel that meeting, have the second meeting in September as a board meeting, but to schedule a study session with Cheryl to kick off this plan development on September 3rd at 6:30. That still works for you, Cheryl? So that's part of what I want to bring up tonight on this. So I'm looking forward to it. I think proposal was pretty in depth, and we talked about how this needs to be an action plan, not a desk collector, and I think it'll be good. Open up to any questions you may have for Cheryl or me, or
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I assume your expertise is a fee-based situation to the town? Is that right? How do you charge for what you do?
Yes, sir.
And where is that reflected in the?
It's on the spreadsheet.
It is?
Did it not print? Right here.
Oh,
Right
okay.
in the contract.
it's also in the contract that's on the desk. So
Okay.
our budget is 30, the public record, and the Ironically, the
I
schedule
can't
is
believe I missed $500.
29.
That's a pretty sharp pencil.
So, we might give her a tip or something. So we put all that.
I have two questions for you, Cheryl.
Please.
One, can you elaborate a little bit on what the steering committee, how you'll select, or who that'll be made up of, or how you envision that at least, I guess? And then my second question is, I am the board liaison for the Parks, Trails, and Trees Committee. We meet on the second Tuesday of every month, and we would like to invite you to our the next meeting you can attend, please.
Well, thank you. Yes, I can definitely coordinate. Mary, would you be able to help me with setting that up? I'm happy to do that, of course. And to answer your first question, the way I envision the steering committee working is a group of people that hopefully you as trustees and the mayor particularly would help me select. I understand you had some committees formed, and there is a business committee as well as your trails and, is it Parks, Trails, and Trees?
Parks, Trails, and Trees.
Trees, that's it. Thank you very much, committee. And I think that helping those people to get involved with this plan is a great way to do 3 or 4 things. One, I like to involve as many people as we can because I think the more brains we have at work on this project, the better the result will be. Number 2, I think it's really great if you have an established committee that they have an active part in this type of plan, because economic development means different things to every community I work with, and it's unique to you. So having those people who are already part of a committee structure or have been involved in something like that can be very helpful. And for me, they serve as a sort of an advisory group to the Board of Trustees, in the sense that when we gather community data and input, we'll talk about it at the steering committee level, and we'll say, what do you guys think about this? What do you see as some of the major themes coming out of this community feedback? How can we create some priorities? And maybe how can we create some goals and maybe even some action steps that we think that the trustees should consider? At the end, only the trustees can approve this type of plan, but the steering committee is a really great way to filter out a lot of this information and have them help us decide what might be best for Platteville. I hope that's
great.
sufficient.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had talked to Rebecca and Eric, they're pretty excited. Several business owners in town are already.
Good.
Yes, yes. So, it'll work great.
I really like the timeline of everything, and so we can see if we're gonna go somewhere instead of just have a meeting after meeting after meeting, so that is.
Or wonder what's
Excited.
next.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'd also say you'll notice November and December are really light, and in my experience working with public agencies, November and December probably should be really light. We want to spend time with our families, and people are distracted anyway, and it's a little bit harder to gain, some traction. So those are fairly light months, but that's good because then we can ponder and think, and then come back and finish the plan.
Wonderful. Any other questions, comments, concerns for Cheryl or Mr. Rankin? All right, I'd entertain a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve an agreement for services with Cheryl Trent for an economic strategic plan, subject to approval by legal counsel and authorize mayor to execute same.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mary, roll call, please.
Nick Ralston.
Aye.
Spencer Bradman.
Aye.
Troy Blum.
Aye.
Larry Clark.
Aye.
Hope Morris.
Yes.
Harold Leggett.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. Thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
One last note, I did send Cheryl today, I apologize for the late notice, but the agreement that Kenner drafted, and she's fine with it, so it shouldn't take too long to get that signed and approved, and we'll be ready for September 3rd.
Fabulous. Thank you, thank you. Okay, moving on to D, minor operated business discussion. Mr. Rankin.
Okay, another memo from the town attorney. So I want to ask Kenner just to briefly summarize this, but it's pretty straightforward.
It's pretty straightforward, and this is one of several memos I sent regarding legislation, but this came out of Denver where they were trying to regulate lemonade stands. So basically what this says is if you have minors operating businesses in town, you can't require them to get a permit. Seems pretty straightforward. You can require them, if it's going to be competition with another business, you can require them to move. I'm not sure we need that here, but what we need to do is amend the code to basically say minor operating businesses don't need a permit or a license. So with your approval, I would go ahead and draft the ordinance to bring our code into compliance, but concerns about this. Seems kind of a waste of time, but, because I don't think you would have required a permit for minor businesses to begin with, but because this came to the forefront in Denver, we're just kind of stuck with it.
Questions, comments, and concerns?
I see that there's some cloudiness about the sales tax collection.
We don't typically require a sales tax from a lemonade stand.
Right. And I would hope not. Can we include something, wording specific to not collecting sales tax from
Yes,
minor children
yes,
and the
sure,
accompanying license and requirement, so on, so.
yes.
Great.
I agree with that to a point, but there's always an exception. So what if we get the next JoJo Bose in Platteville, you know, where you got maybe $1 million of potential sales tax revenue, and they're capped being put on that, you know, can you address that at your time?
I think we could
I'm
address
just
that.
saying, you don't wanna close.
If it comes up, I think we could address that. Typically, those businesses actually require adults to be part of it. You know what I'm saying? So
Right, and I'm not sure
Legally bind to a
what,
contract.
where's the line there?
it's not super clear.
Right.
This really is only intended to apply to actual lemonade stand type things, or
My kid's selling their toys out front.
exactly, right. My kid having a garage sale to make some money to pay for whatever he wants. So I hear what you're saying. I think we can address that at the time. So this doesn't have to be permanent.
Perfect.
And it's not grandfathered. In other words, if we suddenly learn that some minor has $1 million business in town, we can look at this again.
Cool.
One thing Kenner mentioned or memo that, reference to Denver, for example, a lot of communities will allow these or permit these without a permit in residential areas. Once in a while they'll have a Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts sell popcorn in front of a business. I don't see a big issue with that, but I think there should be some language that the business is okay with that, so they don't take away their storefront, outside front area, so to speak. So I think we can do something that can word it in an appropriate manner,
Yeah, we can do that.
where it's more of a partnership. A lot of these businesses would support that, obviously, but we don't want them infringing on their space either, so to speak. So, that's about it.
And what I would do is just draft an ordinance for y'all to consider, and then we can look at the wording at that time and see if you're happy with it.
Alright, anything else? Are you entertaining a motion, please? Well, I guess we don't need a motion, never mind.
Yeah, this was several of these are kind of updates to get some direction from you, but eventually you would need to vote on an ordinance anyway, so there's no need to have a vote right now.
Thank you, Kendra. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the e-scooter discussion.
And yet another one. So the legislature adopted a bill regarding e-scooters. So e-scooters, as you've probably seen them in Denver or heard about how dangerous they are, they're those big electric scooters, not just, like a Razor scooter that your kid has, but like the commercial ones. And now you can buy them, anyone can buy them. And they're having huge problems in Denver and other areas because people are riding on the sidewalk and they're very dangerous. So, and I don't know if the chief can speak to this, but I know they just had their first death in Denver. They've had some pretty serious issues. So the state came out and said they cannot be ridden on sidewalks anymore. They have to be on the road or in bike lanes, basically. So we do need to amend our code for this. We could wait for the model traffic code, but we've been waiting for the model traffic code for 3 years. And we're not super confident that the state is still working on the 2016 model traffic code. So I'm not sure why, but, right now, based on the law, we need to just quickly amend our code to say these things can't be ridden on sidewalks. The other thing we can do if we want is we can say they can't be ridden on certain streets. So if there's
Truck routes.
right, so we could use truck routes for an example, or we could use any street with a speed limit over 25 or 35 or whatever you would like. I don't see this as a huge problem in Platteville, but people are getting them. So you'll see them more and more, and we at least have to amend our code to say no sidewalks. Beyond that, we don't have to do anything else. But if you would like to restrict them from other streets, we can do that at the same time.
Do they have to have a license to drive them?
No.
So they have to follow, like if the speed limit's 25, can they go 40?
No, they have to follow all, so it's just like a bicycle. So they're basically the same as a bicycle, so they have to follow all the traffic rules, as a bicycle.
We have our new sidewalk that we put in on Strickle and Grand, so they'd have to be on the truck route,
They have to be on the street if
which
there's
is a
no.
truck route, so when
Right.
you say it's truck route, then nobody can ride on the sidewalk for the truck route.
That's true.
Out of that
To
neighborhood.
the neighborhoods, yeah.
That's true.
So that, you might wanna watch the wording on that.
Yeah, that's true, and maybe for now, we just say no sidewalks and we kinda let it be. It's a little bit tough, I don't know if you have any suggestions.
I don't, I've never seen one of these in town whatsoever,
I
so
know.
it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, so I think the sidewalk is a fantastic idea for now and a minute later, but that's up to you guys.
Yeah, we start seeing them more, I mean, people are starting to buy them individually, but I agree with you, they're not super common here yet, but, and Denver is apparently about to end their program, it's too dangerous, so they're gonna get rid of, I think, at least half of them. So, because there's people all over, if you're downtown Denver ever, you'll see them everywhere, and they're super dangerous. As a pedestrian, as a person who's driving their car, I've almost hit about 5 people, because they just come darting out at you. But anyway, so for now, maybe we just do the minimum, which is they're not allowed on sidewalks, and we don't impose other restrictions, because we don't have a problem, and then if we see a problem, we can always amend it later.
Do you wanna include segways too?
Yeah, we can include e-bikes and segways as well, that's, because e-bikes are similar.
I didn't know if that was just a general term and then both, but
Yeah, no, that's a good idea, because segways shouldn't be on the sidewalk.
Might need to throw in golf carts just to be safe.
You can just allow golf
it's
carts.
electric.
Madam Chairman, I think the town manager's out of order.
They are fun to ride.
They are fun,
Those e-scooters?
they are fun. Apparently
Good way
Paris is
around.
now outlawing them too.
Really?
Yeah.
Anything else on this subject?
So I'll bring you back, based on these couple things, I'll bring you back a few code amendment ordinances in the next, there's no rush on any of these, because I don't see them being a huge problem. But I will bring them back sort of over the next few months.
Don't put in truck route because that'll limit.
No, I think for now, let's just use sidewalks,
Yeah.
and then if we see the need to do truck routes or certain truck routes, we can talk about those later, because I think you're right, if we pick all truck routes, that might not work.
Yeah, that'll limit for people getting out of the neighborhoods out there.
Right.
to-
Well, that's the main one, if we could ever remove the truck right off Grand, then we'd probably be okay.
Yes.
What's the max speed is it gonna go?
I think 20 is what it says.
20?
Yeah,
So, that would just generalize it and say nothing over 25-mile-an-hour road.
we can do that
I
as
mean,
well.
most of, I know the truck route coming up by my house at 25.
Grand is
Grand
30.
is 30.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 30.
Like I said, I don't wanna try to fix a problem that doesn't exist, so for now, why don't we just do the minimum to
Yeah.
comply with the law, and then if we see a problem later, we can always address it. So, a lot of these bills are kind of ridiculous, as you can see.
Sounds perfect.
They're busy in Denver.
They were very busy, they've passed a lot of laws.
And my son's razor will fly down the street, so.
All right, moving on. Sewer consumption charges discussion, Mr. Rankin.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. This is a topic that just came up recently, where we had a citizen who had a property, a rental property that was vacant. The town did not know of that, but when the bill came due, there was no water use, obviously, but there's sewer consumption. And how that works is each year, because we don't meter water going down the sewer, obviously, when it's flushing or washing machines or whatever. But each January, February, March, on a 3-month average during non-irrigation months, that's when that sewer consumption is assessed or calculated based upon their water use during non-irrigation month. So everybody then is assessed based upon your own personal property use, what that rate may be, and it's constant throughout the year. So in this case, the resident questioned, well, if I'm not using water, why do I have to pay for that? There's no water going down my sewer. The explanation is if someone contacts us, like we have some snowbirds in town, they'll leave for the winter, and they they can have the meter shut off. They still have to pay the water base and sewer base per the town code. But we don't charge them water use or sewer consumption use because they notified us, so they're vacant, we know that. In this case, we were notified. You may or you will likely in the future get a request to waive this at some point. My recommendation is not, if they're willing to come in and let us know. Not a week or a day, but they're at least 1 month in totality or more. The house is being worked on, whatever, we can work with them on that. But, we just want to bring this up to your attention because it has come up. And some may argue about it, that it's not using water, why would I pay for water going down my sewer? But if you notify us, we can work with you. So the policy is fine the way it stands, I just want to bring that to your attention if you want to discuss it.
So I spoke with this citizen personally. She told me that she did have the water turned off, so that must not be true as far as by the town.
Not to my knowledge.
They cut the water, but not the sewer consumption.
If the water's shut off, and we know that for sure, and they tell us there's no use, then we can work
That
that.
coincides with the sewer consumption.
Yeah, because we know. But the thing is, sometimes a renter, for example, or if I own home, and my property goes without being rented for 3 months, and I want to, after the fact say, hey, I didn't use water, I won't pay for sewer. Well, it's my job to let the town know we're paying for that.
So is there a form they fill out to apply to, okay, so there's documentation for it?
Yeah, we have to document everything.
Okay.
And then that coordinates between David Lloyd Works and Charlotte in the front office.
In the information age though, it's not hard for us to go back and see that they didn't use any water, right?
Okay, but if we do it for this person, exactly like you said, if somebody has a rental property, so they haven't rented in 3 months, why do they have to pay it? Because you have to pay it. That's the policy, and if we keep giving exceptions, then we're gonna be caught, we're gonna be in big trouble.
What I don't want to get into is the house is vacant for 2.5 weeks.
Right,
I just,
right.
to me, I think what we have now is very clear, straightforward.
Just basic communication, that's all you're asking for, is basic communication. Hey, we're going to be in Arizona for the winter, all through January, February, and March. Can we shut the water off and not have to pay it? That's what you're
That's
requiring?
information we can inform people that we'll do too, but I think we can't guess.
No.
And I don't want to deal, the front office doesn't want to deal with things after the fact. I don't want to do that. So that's kind of where my reasoning is on that, so.
Now, she brought up the argument, I mean, you probably already approached the subject with Kendra, that she viewed this as a potential legal issue, that she's being charged for a service that she's not being provided, she's not using, essentially.
I don't see any legal issue.
It says in our code, right, that if she communicated, then she wouldn't have charged.
Yeah.
But it's,
Everyone wants to help pay for their sewer. It's their civic responsibility.
And I see your point, but honestly, I could get that several times a year. And that's it, I got 22.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's the position I'm in, like big shots. But I don't blame them. I mean, it makes people mad sometimes, especially when utility rates are going up. I mean, I'll just be candid. Just recently, Dave and I got informed by Central World Water that our water rates starting next year are going up for consumption. And what's the other one?
The
Demand charge.
demand charge and consumption, starting November 1.
Starting November 1, so we have to talk about that. But all the communities in the whole area serviced by Northern is going to go up. So it's not just the sewer going up, the water's going up. So.
Now that we're out of the flood, now we're gonna charge more for it.
Well,
Anything else for Ms. Rankin? Alright, moving on to the Valley Football Club storage shed. I am the vice president of the Valley Football Club.
we need to do the one.
Oh, the electric.
One more.
Just real quick, 'cause
Thank you.
I'll just have Kendra briefly
Sorry.
talk about that.
No,
So, the electronic notice, this is a push by the legislature for us all to change to electronic notice. So what this says is you can make your website your official posting place, and then make the bulletin board, you can keep the bulletin board as a supplemental posting place, you can always post at the bulletin board, but the legislature is pushing us to go electronic. So if you wanted to make this your official posting place, we have to do it by resolution. I understand, I saw Troy's recommendation, which is that we keep it as is, which is totally fine. I think by next year, we're gonna be mandated to do this. So whatever you wanna do, we don't have to do it right now. It's just something to keep in mind that they will push us. I think by next year, if we don't do it, they'll tell us we have to do it. But we can have as many posting locations as we want. So nothing says if we make the website the official one that we have to then get rid of the bulletin board. Because I know a lot of people actually go into town hall and look at the bulletin board.
Yep.
And so we can keep that, but it's up to the board whether to do this now, and it's really just changing it to the official one.
And we do this each year during budget.
Yep.
So I would say wait till we do that resolution. I think it's in January.
It's in January, at the first meeting of each year, we're required to do a posting resolution, so we can take this up then and decide whether we wanna make the official one the website or the official one the bulletin board. We can still do both. It really makes no practical difference, but to the state, it's important which we call the official one.
To keep up with the times, we can make the website the official one, but it's still always posted. People see that, they look at it. That's what we do now.
Yes. Well, no, we have to still do newspaper publications, but for anything that we would be required to post to the bulletin board, it would no longer have to be the bulletin board, it would have to be on the website. So we can discuss this as it gets closer to the end of the year, perhaps, when I'm preparing that resolution, because we don't have to do any of this until January of 2020.
Okay. Perfect. Anything else on this?
There's one more that Kenderson, my wife, will wait, and it's equal pay for equal work, but that doesn't go into effect until 2021.
That's correct. And that is something I'll probably more work out with staff to make sure that our salaries are equivalent.
We'll discuss that in the time.
Okay.
So legislation in the House is busy this year.
Yeah.
Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. So I will recuse myself from this one as I'm the vice president of the football club, and I will give Larry the gavel. There you go, you need that one too.
That's very released. Thank you. Well, just sort of the summary of the Valley Football Club's interest in constructing a shed, store equipment and other items on the community complex property. Are they looking for a donation or just the approval of a location or?
May I answer some of those questions? Okay. During the course of the last couple of months,
Here he is right there.
the Valley Football Club has preparing for the upcoming season, and for years since the inception of actually Gordon Huntington, our former co-rec director, started the program. They didn't have a place to store helmets, uniforms, jerseys, pads. We've always used our rec shed. This year, for example, and I forgot to be in today. I don't know how they got in the rec shed. Sorry about that. You're okay?
I'm good.
Okay. But it came to, the realization they should have their own shed. They just don't have any property. And as Valley Football Club members change over the years, having it on someone's individual property doesn't make a lot of sense. The town has always supported it. And I'm in agreement that the town could help them out by providing a place for a shed that they purchased, they installed, it would be on town property. After looking at it, we had what Dave and I call the rock lot. It used to be the little 4-bath tower pole side over in the corner by the dog park. It's a 100 by 100 foot square fenced in area. We have a metal shed over there now, thought about putting it inside there, away from the community center, because there's really not room there. And then, or even outside that area, but it would be their own shed. And we could do a simple agreement to where there's no cost involved, it's just they maintain it and we provide a footprint for them to put their stuff on it. Provide their own insurance, so on and so forth, but otherwise, that's pretty much it, and they're not asking for any money. But they want their own facility, so they don't have to ask me for a key when they go get to the shed all the time, so, which I'm all for, so. Well, we can work that out with David, because we have keys at the cemetery, we have different contractors, and we make it work, so. But that's kinda it in a nutshell, Larry, if you have any questions for me, but I would support the motion and let, Dave and I work with the football club. It was gonna be a 10 by 12 shed and seeing what they have in our rec shed, which would, Janet's all for it because it frees up her area. She'd like to get everything off the floor. So it's a win-win. And then their equipment's gonna happen to would not be in a town-owned facility, it'd be in their own. But, I recommend something a little bigger than a 10 by 12. Once you build something, anything storage related, you'll fill it. So, I just suggest, it may be metal or maybe wood. So, did, anyone else want to speak from the Valley Football Club on the shed? Besides the mayor? No? That's okay.
Sorry.
No, that's pretty much it in a nutshell, and I don't have a problem with it. I mean, the town supports the football program. It's just, they want to pay their own way and we just provide a spot for them.
Does anybody have any objection to the location that the town manager spoke of out by the dog park? Then if so, I guess we would entertain a motion to approve the location.
Is this just a discussion?
I don't know that we need a
No.
motion at this point unless you would just like some direction. I mean, we'll bring, it's up to you.
The direction I would ask the board is that you approve myself or the town attorney to work out an agreement between the town and the Valley Football Club to provide a location for their shed when they provide the shed, all the materials, maintenance,
How many words do you need to say?
and insurance.
I make a motion to allow the town manager to draft an agreement with the Valley Football Club for the placement of a shed, in a designated spot per our discussion here tonight.
There you go.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Sorry.
I was asking if there was any further discussion to be made. Then are we prepared to vote on them? Excuse me?
I moved ahead of turn for Mr. Clark.
So we already made a motion,
Well,
so.
I understand the motion's been made and seconded. If there was any other discussion, then we can proceed to vote. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. At which point I'll return the chair to Madam Mayor.
Good job, Larry.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, I wasn't ready for you.
Hey, Spencer, when I ride like that, all you do is say, so moved.
Mary's
And
I'm
Mary-
not gonna remember all this.
Okay, moving on to reports. Chief Dwyer.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. Other than the fact that we're gonna be shorthanded at the end of this month, we have an officer that got hurt, as I mentioned in my report, another one that's leaving for 6 to 8 weeks at the end of the month, and our SROs are returning to school, so probably going back to a rotation, until we get some staff back. It's ironic how we can have a whole lot of men on the field and all of a sudden wipe half of the agency out, but that's the way it goes. Other than that, I have nothing more to add. Happy to answer any questions though.
Any questions for Chief Dwyer? Comments?
I have a couple comments maybe. So Carl, I appreciate you posting on Nextdoor, and times when people are kind of getting riled up there. I guess I wanted to maybe discuss with the board, a lot of police departments have a more of an online social media presence than we currently do. And would it be beneficial for us to do that? I'm not saying to put this on Carl, you need to do this, but maybe you need to hire someone that does. And to put information out there before rumors start getting spread around. I think that's one of the things, the most important things that the social media presence that the police organizations have is that they're just kind of getting information out there quickly to disperse any rumors or, swells, I guess. Is that something you think that we should move towards, or are we good where we are?
Personally, I am happy that they address when it's necessary. Because if it's not a hornet's nest, why make it one?
Right.
That's just me though.
I'm not saying you post about everything that the police department does every day. Probably there's not a post. Most days there's not a post. But
right.
I think you just wanted that would get out in front of these things that cause an uproar on our social media, then you have to play catch up on them.
Sure.
It's always best to be, I find it's always best to be out ahead of a problem rather than trying to
reactive.
catch up and figure out how to, put it down.
Well, the only complaints I see is on the Nextdoor app where people jump to conclusions and all the stuff and negativity about it. And I think whenever there's any issue or something going on, I think you guys catch it and address it right away. So, other than that application that's out there that people use and like to complain on, I don't think there's any other media source that people really onto in this community that are up to speed with stuff. So.
Right. I agree. I think there'll come a day where that's needed. And it may be sooner than later, but.
Cool. Anything else?
National Night Out was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah, thank you.
I didn't get there until later, but.
Me too, I did.
Yeah. Everything was already gone by then, but.
Oh.
Which was awesome.
Yeah, I think it was good this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our Public Works Director, Mr. Brand.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to apologize that you have a paper copy and that I didn't get one to the town clerk in time to get into your packet last week. We had a minor event this last weekend that I kind of got tied up with getting ready for, and I apologize I didn't get my memo out. It just literally slipped my mind and I missed the reminder in my calendar, so I apologize for that. The highlight of this memo are probably two things with the water and the wastewater. Tomorrow, Troy and I will be meeting with Grosswind, with JDA, and with the State Health Department to look at whether the town of Platteville has to actually have a pilot system built here for the Grosswind technologies, or if the state will be able to gather the data that they need from the pilot plant that has already built and functioning for the last month and a half or 2 months in Slater, Iowa. Slater, Iowa is a very similar climate, similar moisture content. They actually get a little more moisture than we do, but we're going down there tomorrow to make the pitch to the State Health Department that there really isn't a need for the town to build the facility, that we could get the data there, and we actually could get the data sooner from Slater, because we won't be able to have ours built in time to gather the cold weather data that they really want. So that would actually put a delay on things, whereas we should be able to get the information from the Slater plant this winter, and by April or May have the state be able to decide, yes, they think that that would be an alternate technology that could be approved, so we could move forward with the design if that's the way the board chooses to move forward. Part of what facilitated that is the costs of the pilot went from initially thinking around $500,000 to $650,000. Now the latest estimates has us in the $850,000 range. Now even with a $200,000 grant from DOLA, that went from them paying just a little less than half to only about a quarter of this project. And so And the state sees the efforts that the town has put forth to try and bring this technology in. So I expect a very positive result tomorrow, but we'll know more by this time tomorrow afternoon, I think, and we'll go from there. The second highlight, or low light, or low pressure, I guess would be the way to put it, was we had to take kind of the northwest section of town out of service with the water system last week for them to lower the water line going down Reynolds Avenue. Had a couple of valves that didn't function like they should have, so we had to move out and spread the window a little bit as to where we had to go to shut that water down so that they could lower the water line and so that the drainage out of the new fire department would work going north like it's been designed. The problem was there was a water line right where the new storm drainage line needed to go. So we ended up, we had the service out the first, it took us a while to find which set of valves, and by the time we did the first day, it was too late in the day. We didn't want to attempt to make the fix, so we went and reopened everything, and then we were able to shut it down the next morning, and then they had the water back on by 3:15 that next afternoon. So there was some minor inconvenience, but we got most people notified. I think we only had 5 or 6 phone calls in the office, but we did get it out on Nextdoor, on Facebook, and put it out on Everbridge to let people know. And the second day, I think we had 1 phone call, if I remember what I was told. So it seems that the half-staff thing is going around a little bit in the departments in Platteville right now. Public Works is going to be down a couple operators as well. Fortunately, we've got a gentleman that used to work with us that started his own business earlier this year that is willing to come back part-time 3 days a week for us right now while we're short-staffed. So that'll be don't have to train him or have to get shots or anything else. So that was a blessing for us. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Brand? Everybody did a great job on Friday and Saturday. Thank you.
Appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
I do have a question for you, in conjunction with the pilot program, not pilot program. Assuming, well, now let me rephrase that. Is there any motion from the health department at all about the extension of the compliance schedule? Or do you expect that to be in the same part of the discussion tomorrow?
I expect there to be some discussion of that tomorrow. However, at this point, what JVA has told us and what the state has told us, the initial letter from the state when they denied us the extension originally was basically other communities have gotten an extension in the past and then not done anything up to that point, and then they're that much further behind the 8 ball. So they said that if we had a funding issue or if we had a construction issue, we could come back to them with a request for an extension, and they would consider it and see what progress we had made. JVA, being very bold right now, if we don't do the pilot here, we get the data from Slater, we might actually have the design done soon enough that we will be very close to the original timeline that the state was looking for. If we are going to be close but not make that timeline, then at that point we make the request saying, listen, this is where we're at, this is how far behind schedule we are, and this is where it comes in. But the argument that JVA is making tomorrow to the state is we actually, if they use the Slater data and we choose to go with the gross wind technology, we actually stand a chance of actually meeting the original deadline. It'll be tight, but we stand a chance of meeting the original deadline versus waiting almost a full 18 months if we build this pilot, and then we definitely will not meet the timeline. So at this point, we haven't had any indication from the state other than the fact that JVA has had experience in the past where they're close to a deadline and they just ask for an extension because of a construction delay or something like that. And the state has looked favorably on that because the community is working to meet that deadline.
And isn't it also true that, there's certain aspects of the construction project that are common to both the single batch reactor as well as the system that we're proposing? You know, gates that come in and out, so on and so forth. There's certain construction components that are identical to both types of technology. Is that not correct?
That is correct. I mean, basically, the gross wind technology or the sequencing batch reactor would be basically the main component, but kind of the heart of the process. But you've got all the pumping up to, all the screening up to, you've got the disinfection on the backside that's gonna be the same on you.
And some of those aspects of the project can be done at any time, is that right? Or, I know it's, well, it's not, that's probably not a fair question.
I would say they couldn't be done at any time for two reasons. Number one, you've gotta have the heart so that you know exactly which way we're gonna pump everything into it and where, number one. And number two, the economy of scale. I think that we would be shooting ourselves in the foot to try and go out and do a smaller portion of this and then hope that it fits later versus having the whole thing as a package.
Right. I just envisioned trying to assuage the health department to some degree, but I also recognize what you say is true, that trying to guess where you're headed with this pipe is a poor idea as well, as opposed to knowing where it's headed and going. Okay. That's all I know.
Mr. Brand, has there been any further discussion about the anticipated footprint of the current lagoons if the gross wind system goes through, if they've been able to collect any, give us any, because they weren't sure about that. There was any sort of notion really. They thought they could get smaller, but they didn't know how much. Have we narrowed in on that at all?
A little bit, but not completely, in that we still think that there is enough footprint in the northwest or the northeast spare cell to the east of the wetlands to put the entire 8 RAB units in currently. Now, whether the wetlands becomes a clarifier, a pre-clarifier or a post-clarifier, or we split the wetlands the other way and it becomes a pre and a post-clarifier where we run some of the flow into that before it goes to the RAB system and then out of that back into, there's a lot of dynamics there. If we do the RAB system, we are gonna end up with another basin of some kind, probably an earthen basin that's lined, i.e. the wetlands being some type of a pre or post clarification to finalize the process. But I suspect, and what JVA is working towards, is at least decommissioning the 2 southern lagoons, the 2 primary and secondary cell. With any process with the SBR, then the wetlands probably goes away as well.
Anything else for Mr. Brand? Okay, thank you. Moving on to our esteemed attorney.
Hi, sorry I was late, ran into some traffic. I don't have much to add. Obviously, we've been working on a lot of memos regarding legislative updates, and that's really what we've been focused on. So, happy to hear we've gotten through a few of those, and we'll there's some ordinances that we'll present to you in the next couple of months. I'm also happy to answer any other questions that you have.
Any questions, please, Carter? Thank you. Moving on, Mr. Rankin.
Thank you. I've outlined a number of items in our report, a couple updates, or lack thereof, with CDOT and Excel on our Main Street project, which the mayor and I did kind of of summarize those with Cheryl when we talked to her about the Main Street really being a focus of our interest, so to speak, the town overall for economic development. Front office still dealing with some utility billing issues. It's a work in progress, but we will get there. Friday, David and I attend this APIS meeting. David got notified today that APIS request was 36 locates for you to do for the project coming up.
Yes.
That'll be fun. Senior bus scheduled to be completed on October 22nd. Can't control that, I wish it was sooner. Otherwise, I don't have a lot to add. David already mentioned the Harvest Daze, and I'll give kudos to the staff. I mean, it's all hands on deck. And even being short-staffed this year, we made it work. I thought it was smoother, in my opinion, than some years. We didn't have kids plowing into a transformer, knocking out our power throughout the town during the parade or anything like that. A few years ago, where, you know, it rained a little bit, but nothing too drastic we couldn't survive through. I do want to acknowledge but not embarrass, we have a young man in the back. He's got a civic class. He's been watching tonight. So Diego, welcome to the board meeting tonight, and your mom. They want to check you guys out. You can ask me any questions if you like, or you can, or not. It's okay. Anything come to mind? Okay. And Cheryl, thanks for staying. Looking forward to working with you, and if it's still okay with the board, our next meeting will be canceled. We'll have a study session at 6:30. Cheryl, it's pretty informal, and Mary provides food and some refreshments, so you don't need to eat unless you want to. So when you talk, they may be eating, just so you know, okay?
So the September 3rd thing is just for us?
Just for the board.
Okay.
And then to kind of go along with that, we talked about doing a community engagement kickoff meeting in October, because September with school starting is just such a hectic time with kids being back to school and parents readjusting. But I think October, you know, weather probably hold out, we'll do something. I did submit Spencer the first request for the Quick Win project funding to Kate Townley at CDPHE. And I have to spend the rest of that money, which part of it will go toward that community engagement. I have to spend by the end of September, so what we'll probably do is buy food, make posters, do everything in September leading up to that, so we can get reimbursed for those costs. And then we have about half of that 5,000 left to spend. And I don't think we'll spend that much on food, so we need to talk offline about maybe getting a couple of trash cans that I know, receptacles you want for Main Street. Perfect. So people can throw that stuff away. And David, I'll work with you on that, so. Otherwise, any questions you have, I'm scheduled for family leave next week. And I'll be back for the September 3rd meeting after Labor Day.
Going anyplace fun?
Going to the Ozarks.
Oh, you are? Wow.
The youngest boy down there fishing down one of those many Great Lakes they have. And Silver Dollar City, may go see Dolly in a while.
Do we need to formally, how do we formally cancel the September 3rd meeting?
I should have put out the schedule to formalize it, but Mary or Ken, do you have any suggestions?
You can do it by motion right now, if you like, that'd be sufficient.
Yeah, we should do that.
Entertain a motion to cancel the September 3rd regular meeting of the Board of Trustees.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's canceled. Thank you.
Yeah, we have some training coming up in September too, at the community center.
There was a PDC thing.
Yes, we have the wastewater treatment for small communities, that's September 4th. That's the day after our study session on the 3rd. That's from 9 to 3 o'clock at the community center, and we're hosting that. I asked David and pretty much all public works who want to attend. Other communities are invited, and obviously all of you are as well. And ironically, I think we're hosting it because we're pursuing a pilot alternative technology. So, and they asked if David or a representative can say a few words about our process, so I dumped it on David to do that.
Thanks.
What time is it, at 6:30?
It's a day workshop from 9 to 3
Oh, 9 to 3.
on Wednesday, September 4th. Thank you, forgot
And
about
then,
that.
and the night before that's at 6:30.
6:30 study session.
6:30 studies.
And we plan around about 2 hour time frame, is that fair to say, Cheryl? So, 6:30, 8:30? So, you can get home, get some sleep, and get back up and run about sewer water. Perfect.
Yeah, well, I'm leaving on Friday.
Good.
Minnesota.
Okay. Anything else from Mr. Lincoln? Alright, I did have a couple of things I wanted to chat about. We were invited, the board, to the convocation with the Will County School District tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. at the cafeteria at Valley High School to introduce, he says, breakfast, officially introduce the staff and district. And he said he wants to go over the bond construction. We're also going to have tours of our schools, LaSalle and Gilchrist schools, that we are officially invited to. If you guys want, I will forward this email on. But tomorrow morning is the convocation at 8 a.m.
It just came out Monday, I forwarded it to 8, it's really short notice.
Yes, yes, we just got this.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yes.
8 to what?
It does not say.
It's probably a couple hours, 8 to 11 or so.
Yeah, and the teachers
Doesn't
will
last that long.
get together, do team building stuff.
I'll attend the first hour, then go with David to Denver, so.
Are you going?
I think so.
You gotta be there at 8.
Gotta be there, yes.
So they'll feed you. Maybe it's breakfast.
We can talk offline.
Okay.
Anyways, I think that's the only thing I wanted to update. Do we have any committee updates?
No.
Park, trails, and trees committees was our last update to the board. We did the flower pot planting, and those were placed on Main Street. Thank you, David, you approved for that. And hoping that some benches that we build are gonna get placed on Main Street soon as well. Maybe.
It's on the schedule.
We're also working with Jason Hansen to however we can support him for his dog park thing. He wound up with around $6,000, I think. To be able to get 4 like obstacles for the dog park with his plan there. So I don't know that he's got a lot of help from other scouts and stuff like that. So I don't know that the committee's gonna have to help him out too much as far as that goes, but our plan is to do like a dog park cleanup day, essentially, in correlation with his obstacle placement. I know that Larry is kind of spearheaded making a list of things to address at the dog park, so we're gonna work with David and Troy to try and knock those things out the best we can.
I was up there last week, it's pretty clean.
Oh, I get comments out there. There's this gentleman that comes and cleans it all the time. It looks so good. Yes, you're right there, Larry. Thank you.
We have a study session, which I need to get posted if I can, Mary, set for Saturday morning at the Cracked Egg. We're going to discuss.
I don't have any items to discuss, but.
We're going to discuss, grant, for the, grant projects. So the 2 that we've kind of narrowed in on is a playground equipment replacement with water feature / splash pad at Lincoln Park, and then the trail system park thing at the river trail with the thing that we'll get from LG Everest. Hopefully. I think we need to start doing the grants on the end, because you think you're confident enough that we can still go down this, chase the grant rabbit hole, right? You want us to pull back on that?
Well, it all depends on timing. When I last talked to Matt Nolan with LG Everest, their attorney's close to having the draft development agreement ready, and then I'll of course send it to Canada, and we'll have to negotiate that with them with the board, but I'm pushing for that this fall.
There's a grant timeline, you can't submit till like June next year.
Oh, yeah.
It's not till next year, so we're just trying to make the most polished, prettiest grant application ever. You know, get planning now, so that we don't get denied, and we can get good to go. You know what I mean? We actually are moving aggressively now because we wanna have something to present to the board for budget season in the fall.
That's what I was just gonna ask you before you go down the grant hole, I think you need to take your idea and present.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
And you get, you have time to secure your partner to go a long way on a GoCo application.
So that's sort of the beginning stages of the moment. Obviously, the board has to be addressed, but we want to make a stunning presentation to the board as well. So that's what the study session on Saturday will be about.
What time was that supposed to?
At 7 o'clock.
So, yeah.
You're welcome to join us.
That's
Saturday
10.
morning at 7.
Saturday PM at.
No, 7 a.m. After the crack day.
I don't get much time to open.
That's all I have.
Fabulous. Thank you, Spencer. Nothing in your report? Okay, I know they are working on some more ideas coming up, so. I think that's it. Anything else before the board?
Yes, I'd like to say something. I do want to take time to thank the town staff, me personally, for everything that they did. Adrian and your committee, I know you guys work hard all year to get this plan. I appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you. I should have next door, but I did. But I just want to know you are appreciated.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. That's all. Anything else? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. That was fun. I had to start out, but I just.